In the heart of the Arctic, where the biting cold and relentless winds reign supreme, a lone woman named Ada Blackjack faced an unimaginable challenge. Stranded on a deserted island, she found herself battling not just the elements, but also the crushing weight of isolation. Picture this: endless days stretched before her, each one a test of her resilience and ingenuity. With dwindling supplies and the harsh reality of survival setting in, Ada had to rely on her instincts. Imagine the sheer determination it took to gather food, build shelter, and stay warm in freezing temperatures. As the sun barely peeked over the horizon, she learned to navigate the icy terrain, facing the daunting task of hunting for seals and polar bears, all while grappling with her loneliness. Days turned into weeks, and weeks into months. The biting cold seeped into her bones, but Ada's spirit refused to shatter. Each night, as the Arctic darkness enveloped her, she found solace in her thoughts, dreaming of home and the warmth of human connection. How did she find the strength to carry on? What kept her hope alive in the face of such overwhelming odds? Join us as we delve into the extraordinary journey of survival, resilience, and the unyielding spirit of a woman who defied the odds. Adaptation to the environment. Ada's journey began with a harsh reality. The extreme cold, biting winds, and the isolating vastness of the deserted island. It was a world that was unforgiving, where the sun barely peeked through the dense clouds. Ada quickly learned that to survive, she would need to adapt, both physically and mentally. The chill seeped into her bones, a constant reminder of her vulnerability. She tried to acclimate to the frigid temperatures by layering her clothing, using whatever she could find. Old rags, bits of animal hides, and even seaweed became her makeshift insulation. Each morning, she would wake to frost on her makeshift bed, a stark contrast to the warmth she once took for granted. The winds were relentless. They howled like a pack of wolves, shaking the very ground beneath her. Ada discovered that finding shelter was not just a matter of comfort, but a necessity for her survival. She felt the need to create a space where she could retreat from the elements, a haven that offered some semblance of safety. With each gust, she was reminded of the urgency of her situation. It was during these times that her determination grew stronger. Ada began to observe her surroundings closely, noting the natural formations that could provide cover from the wind and rain. As weeks turned into months, Ada's body started to adapt to the cold. Her skin toughened and her senses sharpened. She learned to read the weather patterns, understanding when a storm was brewing or when the sun might make an appearance. This heightened awareness was crucial. It not only helped her survive, but also instilled a sense of confidence. She felt a connection to the island, as if it were teaching her its secrets. The harshness of her environment transformed from a source of despair to a catalyst for growth. Isolation was perhaps the most challenging aspect of her adaptation. The silence was deafening at times, broken only by the sound of crashing waves or rustling leaves. Ada often found herself talking to the wind, as if it could provide companionship. She reflected on her past life, the people she missed, and the laughter that once filled her days. Yet, amid this solitude, she discovered a resilience she never knew she possessed. Each challenge brought her closer to understanding her own strength. In time, Ada learned to embrace the elements rather than fight against them. She became attuned to the rhythm of the island, finding beauty in the starkness of her surroundings. The cold wind became a familiar friend rather than an enemy. She understood that adaptation wasn't just about physical changes. It was also about shifting her mindset. This newfound perspective was crucial as she navigated the complexities of survival in such a remote and unforgiving environment. Search for shelter. Finding shelter was a pivotal part of Ada's survival. With the relentless storms and freezing temperatures threatening her well-being, she knew she couldn't remain exposed. Her quest for refuge began with a thorough exploration of her surroundings. Ada scoured the coastline and ventured into the nearby woods, searching for any natural formations that could offer her some protection. Eventually, she stumbled upon a cave, its entrance partially obscured by dense underbrush. It seemed like a perfect sanctuary, and she quickly set about making it more habitable. The cave had its advantages. It shielded her from the biting winds and offered a certain degree of warmth. However, it was also dark and damp, and Ada realized she needed to make it more comfortable. She scavenged for materials, collecting fallen branches, leaves, and even remnants of animal bones. With a bit of ingenuity, she created a makeshift bed, layering the softest materials she could find to cushion her sleeping surface. It was a tedious process, but each small improvement made her feel more at home. To further enhance her shelter, Ada started to build a fire pit just outside the cave. She gathered stones to create a circle, ensuring that her fire would be contained and safe. The warmth of the fire would not only help her cook food, but also provide a psychological boost during the long, lonely nights. As she worked, she felt a sense of purpose. The act of creating a safe space was both physically demanding and mentally rewarding. Over time, Ada learned to adapt her shelter to the changing weather. In the summer, she made adjustments to allow for ventilation, while in the winter, she fortified the entrance with additional branches and leaves to block the cold winds. Each season brought its own challenges, but Ada's resourcefulness shone through. She often marveled at how her simple cave had transformed into a home. It was a testament to her ability to survive and thrive in a world that initially felt so hostile. As the months passed, Ada began to appreciate the importance of her shelter beyond mere survival. It became a place of reflection, a quiet space where she could gather her thoughts and connect with her inner self. The cave, once a mere refuge from the elements, evolved into a symbol of her resilience. It reminded her that even in the bleakest of circumstances, she could create a sense of belonging and comfort. Food gathering and foraging survival on the island hinged significantly on Ada's ability to find food. The initial days were fraught with uncertainty as she grappled with hunger and the daunting task of sourcing sustenance. Ada quickly learned that the island, while harsh, was not devoid of life. Nature offered a bounty, but it required keen observation and knowledge of her surroundings. She began her mornings by exploring the shoreline, where she discovered a variety of shellfish clinging to the rocks. Clams, mussels, and crabs became staples of her diet, providing much-needed protein. Fishing proved to be another essential skill for Ada. Armed with a makeshift spear crafted from a sturdy branch, she ventured into the shallow waters. It was a challenge at first. The fish were elusive, darting away at the slightest movement. However, Ada's determination paid off. After several attempts, she successfully caught her first fish, a small but significant victory. The taste of fresh fish reinvigorated her spirit, and she began to experiment with different fishing techniques, learning to use traps and nets fashioned from seaweed. Foraging for edible plants was another crucial aspect of her survival strategy. Ada spent her afternoons wandering through the woods, identifying various herbs and berries. She quickly became adept at distinguishing between the nourishing and the toxic, a skill that required both patience and caution. Wild berries became a delightful treat, offering a burst of sweetness to her otherwise monotonous meals. She also discovered roots and tubers that could be cooked for sustenance, expanding her culinary repertoire and ensuring she received a balanced diet. As Ada honed her foraging skills, she developed an appreciation for the natural world around her. She found solace in the simplicity of gathering food, often losing track of time as she immersed herself in the task. Each successful hunt or foraging expedition filled her with a sense of accomplishment. The island, once a daunting expanse, transformed into a vibrant ecosystem that nourished her body and spirit. With each passing day, Ada's connection to her surroundings deepened. The act of providing for herself became a source of empowerment. She learned to respect the delicate balance of nature and understood the importance of sustainability. As she gathered food, she made a conscious effort to leave enough for the island to regenerate. This newfound respect for her environment not only sustained her physically, but also nurtured her emotional well-being, allowing her to find beauty in the struggle for survival. Psychological challenges, the psychological toll of isolation weighed heavily on Ada as she navigated her new life on the island. The first few months were a whirlwind of emotions, ranging from determination to despair. She experienced moments of clarity and strength, juxtaposed with overwhelming waves of loneliness. The absence of human interaction was a constant reminder of her solitude, and she often found herself reminiscing about her past life, the laughter of friends, and the warmth of family. As the days turned into months, Ada faced the reality of her situation. The isolation began to seep into her psyche, manifesting in feelings of hopelessness. There were nights when the silence felt suffocating, and the darkness closed in around her. During these times, she fought against the despair that threatened to consume her. She would sit by the fire, staring into the flames, wrestling with her thoughts. It was a battle between the desire to give up and the flicker of hope that still resided within her. To cope with her emotions, Ada found solace in journaling. She began to write down her thoughts, documenting her experiences and feelings. It became a cathartic release, allowing her to process the whirlwind of emotions she faced daily. The act of writing transformed into a lifeline, a way to communicate with herself when no one else was around. Through her words, she discovered a deeper understanding of her inner struggles and the strength she possessed to overcome them. Despite the challenges, there were also moments of profound clarity. Ada learned to embrace the solitude, recognizing it as an opportunity for self-discovery. She engaged in introspective practices, reflecting on her life before the island and what truly mattered to her. This journey of self-exploration brought forth insights that she had previously overlooked. She began to appreciate the beauty of her surroundings, finding joy in the small things, like the sound of the waves or the rustle of leaves in the breeze. As time went on, Ada's emotional landscape continued to evolve. The highs and lows became a part of her daily routine, a reminder of her resilience. She learned to navigate the complexities of her mind, allowing herself to feel the depths of despair while also seeking out moments of gratitude. With each passing day, she grew stronger, transforming her struggles into a testament of her unwavering spirit. The island, with all its challenges, became a place of growth, teaching her invaluable lessons about endurance and the power of the human spirit. Daily routine Ada's days on the island settled into a rhythm, a routine that provided structure amid the interactions with wildlife. Ada's time on the deserted island was marked by unexpected encounters with the local wildlife. From the moment she arrived, she was aware that she was not alone. The island teemed with various animals, each of which brought its own set of challenges and surprises. Some days, she would spot a group of curious seals basking on the rocks, their sleek bodies glistening in the sun. They would watch her with beady eyes, as if assessing whether she posed a threat. On other days, she would hear the distant calls of seabirds echoing in the wind, providing a strange sense of companionship amid the isolation. These interactions were a reminder that life thrived in many forms, even in the harshest of environments. However, not all encounters were as benign. There were times when Ada had to fend off aggressive gulls that swooped down to steal her hard-won food. Their relentless screeches pierced the otherwise serene atmosphere, turning her moments of triumph into frantic battles for survival. These experiences taught her the importance of vigilance and resourcefulness. She quickly learned to cover her meals and keep a wary eye on the skies, adapting her approach to both gathering food and managing her surroundings. The balance of life and death felt precarious, and the island's wildlife played a central role in that delicate equilibrium. One memorable day, Ada stumbled upon a family of wild rabbits while foraging for edible plants. They were skittish creatures, darting away at the slightest sound. Yet, in their presence, Ada felt a flicker of joy. She sat quietly, allowing them to come closer, and marveled at their nimble movements. This encounter reminded her of the beauty of life. Even in the face of adversity, she started to observe the animals more carefully, noting their behaviors and patterns. This newfound understanding of her surroundings deepened her connection to the island and its inhabitants. As days turned into weeks, Ada began to recognize individual creatures. There was a particularly bold raven that would often watch her from a distance, seemingly unafraid of her presence. She found herself talking to this bird, sharing her thoughts and feelings aloud. It became a strange but comforting ritual, a way to combat the pervasive loneliness that threatened to engulf her. Surprisingly, the raven's cawing felt like a form of communication, a reminder that she was still part of a broader ecosystem, one that included both her and the wild creatures she encountered. Through these interactions, Ada learned valuable lessons about coexistence. The island's wildlife was not just a source of food or a distraction. They were part of a complex web of life that she was now a part of. These encounters helped shape her understanding of survival, emphasizing the need for respect and harmony with the natural world around her. It was through these moments that Ada found a sense of belonging, despite her isolation, and the realization that she was never truly alone. Survival strategies. Ada's journey toward survival was not just about finding food and shelter. It was also about developing strategies to navigate the unpredictable challenges the island presented. With each passing storm, she learned to read the skies, predicting when the winds would pick up and the rains would pour. It became second nature to secure her shelter before the weather turned, reinforcing her resilience. The tempestuous environment forced Ada to adapt quickly, honing her instincts and teaching her the importance of preparation. One particularly fierce storm tested Ada's resolve. As the winds howled and the rain lashed against her makeshift shelter, she realized she needed to fortify her position. She scavenged around her surroundings, collecting branches and stones to reinforce the walls of her refuge. With each item she added, a sense of determination surged within her. This storm would not claim her. That night, as she huddled within her fortified walls, she felt a profound sense of accomplishment. She had taken charge of her fate, transforming a moment of fear into one of empowerment. In addition to weather-related challenges, Ada faced periods of resource scarcity that forced her to think creatively. There were weeks when the fish seemed to vanish from the waters, and her foraging efforts yielded little nourishment. During these trying times, she turned to her knowledge of the land. She began to experiment with different foraging techniques and learned to identify edible roots, berries, and herbs. Each successful discovery became a small victory, a reminder that resilience often comes from innovation and adaptability. Ada also developed techniques for signaling for help in case of emergencies. She gathered driftwood and arranged it in large, visible patterns on the beach, creating signals that could be seen from afar. This became a daily ritual, a reminder of her desire to reconnect with the outside world. Each arrangement was a silent plea for rescue, a way to harness her hope amid the solitude. It was a strategy born not only from necessity, but also from an unwavering belief in the possibility of salvation. Over time, Ada's survival strategies became a blend of instinct and learned behavior. She internalized the lessons the island taught her, understanding that survival was not just about enduring, but also about thriving. Each challenge she faced was a stepping stone, shaping her into a more capable and self-reliant individual. The island, with all its trials, was transforming her in ways she had never imagined possible. Health management, maintaining her health, became a top priority for Ada as she navigated the challenges of island life. The isolation and harsh conditions put her physical and mental well-being to the test. She quickly learned the importance of tending to even the smallest injuries, knowing that a minor cut could easily become infected in such an environment. With no access to modern medicine, she relied on her creativity and resourcefulness to treat wounds. She discovered that certain plants had antiseptic qualities, and she began to incorporate them into her daily routine, using them to clean her injuries and promote healing. In addition to physical injuries, Ada faced a constant threat of illness. The exposure to the elements and the lack of proper nutrition made her susceptible to various ailments. On particularly cold nights, she would wake up shivering, her body struggling to fend off the chill. To combat this, she learned to build a fire more efficiently, using the warmth to create a barrier against the cold. It became a nightly ritual to gather enough wood and kindling, a task that not only provided warmth but also offered a sense of security. Mental health was another critical aspect of Ada's survival. The solitude of the island weighed heavily on her, and there were moments when despair threatened to consume her. To combat these feelings, She developed small routines that brought her comfort. Singing to herself became a source of solace. The melodies echoed through the trees, weaving through the silence and reminding her of happier times. Journaling also emerged as a therapeutic outlet. She carved symbols into the sand, recording her thoughts and feelings in a way that helped her process her experiences. Ada found that connecting with her surroundings played a crucial role in maintaining her mental health. She began to appreciate the beauty of the island, taking time to observe the changing landscapes and the intricate details of the flora and fauna. These moments of mindfulness grounded her, reminding her of the world beyond her circumstances. Nature became her companion, and through this connection, she found moments of peace amid the chaos of her situation. As the seasons changed, Ada's approach to health management evolved. She recognized the cyclical nature of life on the island, understanding that her body needed to adapt just as the environment did. She learned to listen to her body, responding to its signals and adjusting her routines accordingly. This newfound awareness became a crucial part of her survival, allowing her to navigate the challenges of island life with resilience and grace. Reflections and self-assessment in the quiet moments of solitude, Ada found herself reflecting on her past life. The memories of her former existence felt distant yet vivid, each recall bringing a mix of nostalgia and longing. She thought about her family, her friends, and the life she had taken for granted. This introspection became a double-edged sword. It provided comfort, but also stirred feelings of loss. Yet, as she contemplated her journey, she began to understand that her time on the island was shaping her in profound ways. Amidst the struggles, Ada discovered a newfound appreciation for the concept of resilience. She realized that her life before the island had been filled with distractions, often leading her to overlook her inner strength. The challenges she faced on the island forced her to confront her fears and insecurities head-on. In moments of desperation, she often found a well of strength she never knew existed. This self-discovery became a vital part of her journey, teaching her that she was capable of more than she had ever imagined. As she spent time observing the natural world around her, Ada began to draw parallels between her experiences and the cycles of nature. The resilience of the trees, the adaptability of the animals. These became symbols of hope and survival. She realized that just as the seasons changed, so too could her circumstances. This insight filled her with motivation, pushing her to embrace the challenges and uncertainties of her new life. Rather than viewing her isolation as a curse, she began to see it as an opportunity for growth and transformation. In her reflections, Ada also contemplated the nature of humanity itself. The solitude of the island allowed her to strip away the layers of societal expectations and norms. She pondered the essence of connection, what it truly meant to be human. The absence of social interactions forced her to confront her own thoughts and emotions, leading her to a profound understanding of herself. She realized that vulnerability was not a weakness but a strength, a bridge to deeper connections with others, even if they were mere memories. Ultimately, Ada's reflections on her life before the island became a source of motivation. Each memory served as a reminder of the person she once was and the person she was becoming. She understood that her time on the island was not just a survival story. It was a journey of self-discovery. Through the trials and tribulations, Ada was learning to embrace her identity impact of time as the days turned into weeks and then months. Ada began to notice how the passage of time altered her perception of her situation. Initially, she had a clear sense of urgency and purpose, driven by the need to survive. Each sunrise was a reminder of her vulnerability, while each sunset marked another day of solitude. However, as the seasons changed and the calendar pages turned, that urgency started to ebb. Time became less about the ticking clock and more about the rhythm of nature. She learned to read the signs of the environment, the way the tide shifted, the patterns of animal behavior, and the gradual changes in the landscape around her. With each passing month, Ada found herself slipping into a different mindset. The initial panic that came with isolation began to transform into a strange sort of acceptance. She would often sit by the shore, watching the waves crash against the rocks, contemplating how the ocean had been there long before her and would be there long after she was gone. It was as if the relentless passage of time had a way of grounding her, reminding her of her own insignificance in the grand scheme of things. She began to find beauty in the decay of fallen leaves and the slow erosion of the cliffs, realizing that everything in nature had its own timeline. However, this new perspective did not come without its challenges. There were days when the weight of time felt like a heavy shroud, wrapping around her and squeezing the breath from her lungs. Ada often found herself lost in thought, reflecting on what she had left behind. Memories of friends, family, and the life she once lived would flicker through her mind like a fading film. The longer she remained on the island, the more those memories felt like distant echoes, almost as if they belonged to someone else. Yet, in those moments of despair, she had to remind herself that she was still alive, and that was a victory in itself. As the seasons cycled through winter's chill to summer's warmth, Ada learned to mark time in ways that were meaningful to her. The first buds of spring became a symbol of renewal, while the arrival of migratory birds signaled the changing seasons. She began to celebrate these small milestones, creating rituals around them to maintain a sense of normalcy. Each season brought its own challenges and joys, and Ada found solace in the predictability of nature's rhythms. This connection helped her cultivate a sense of hope, even amidst uncertainty. Ultimately, the impact of time on Ada was a double-edged sword. While it brought moments of clarity and acceptance, it also served as a reminder of her isolation. The challenge lay in finding a balance between reflecting on her past and embracing her present. Time became a teacher, offering lessons in resilience and the power of adaptability. Through her journey, Ada discovered that while time could be an enemy, it could also be a companion, guiding her toward a deeper understanding of herself and the world around her. Tool creation in the struggle for survival. The ability to create tools became one of Ada's most vital skills. Initially, she relied on whatever she could find: sharp stones, broken branches, and animal bones. But as time passed, it became clear that she needed more effective tools to enhance her chances of survival. With a determination forged in necessity, she set about learning the art of tool-making. It was a process filled with trial and error, but each attempt taught her something valuable about her environment and her own ingenuity. Ada began by observing the natural resources available to her. She would walk along the shore, collecting stones of varying shapes and sizes, testing their sharpness against the coarse sand. It was during one of these excursions that she stumbled upon a particularly jagged piece of flint, which sparked an idea. Ada carefully chipped away at the stone, creating a rudimentary knife. The satisfaction that accompanied such a small victory was immense. This simple tool would soon become her ally in hunting and food preparation, a tangible reminder of her resourcefulness. As she honed her skills, Ada expanded her toolkit. She fashioned spears for fishing by attaching sharpened sticks to sturdy branches, using vines to secure them tightly. The thrill of catching her first fish with her self-made spear was exhilarating, a testament to her growing confidence. Each successful creation not only provided her with practical benefits, but also reinforced her belief in her ability to adapt and thrive in this unforgiving environment. She began to see herself not just as a survivor, but as a creator, capable of transforming her surroundings to meet her needs. Moreover, the process of tool making became a form of meditation for Ada. In the quiet moments spent shaping wood and stone, she found a sense of peace. It was in those hours of concentration that she could forget her solitude, losing herself in the rhythm of her work. Each tool she crafted was imbued with a piece of herself, a reflection of her struggle, creativity, and resilience. The act of creation became a source of empowerment, reminding her that she was not merely at the mercy of her circumstances, but an active participant in her survival. Through the act of creating tools, Ada also discovered a deeper connection to the island itself. Each material she used told a story. The wood spoke of the trees that had weathered storms, while the stones whispered of the earth's ancient history. This relationship with her environment fostered a respect for nature and an appreciation for the resources it provided. Ultimately, Tool-making became more than a means to an end. It was an integral part of Ada's journey of self-discovery, a testament to her resilience and adaptability in the face of adversity. Spiritual experiences in the solitude of the island, away from the clamor of civilization, Ada found herself drawn into moments of profound introspection. The vastness of the ocean and the towering cliffs around her served as a backdrop for her spiritual awakening. She began to experience a deep connection with nature, one that transcended the physical challenges of survival. It was during these quiet moments, often at dawn or dusk, that she felt a sense of oneness with the world around her, a realization that she was part of something much larger than herself. One particularly memorable experience occurred during a stormy night. As the winds howled and the rain lashed against her makeshift shelter, Ada felt an overwhelming sense of fear. Yet, in the eye of the storm, there was a moment of stillness when the chaos around her seemed to fade away. It was in that silence that she found clarity. She closed her eyes and breathed deeply, allowing the rhythm of her heartbeat to sync with the pounding of the waves. In that instance, she understood that storms, like life's challenges, were temporary. This realization brought her comfort and strength, transforming her fear into a quiet resolve. As the days turned into months, Ada began to incorporate rituals into her daily life. She would often sit by the shoreline, collecting shells and pebbles, arranging them in patterns that held personal significance. Each arrangement became a meditative practice, a way for her to express gratitude for the resources she had and the lessons she was learning. These small acts of reverence allowed her to cultivate a sense of peace and appreciation, grounding her in the present moment amidst the uncertainty of her situation. Moreover, the island itself became a source of inspiration. The changing colors of the sky at sunset, the delicate dance of fireflies at dusk, and the gentle rustle of leaves in the wind all spoke to Ada in ways she had never experienced before. She found herself marveling at the beauty of nature, realizing that even in her isolation, there was a profound sense of connection to the earth. This heightened awareness fostered a spiritual relationship with her surroundings, allowing her to see the island not just as a place of survival, but as a sacred space for reflection and growth. Through these spiritual experiences, Ada emerged with a newfound understanding of herself and her place in the world. She learned to trust her instincts and embrace the uncertainty that life presented. In the quiet moments of connection with nature, she found strength, resilience, and an unwavering hope for the future. It became clear to her that even in the depths of despair, there was always a flicker of light, a reminder that she was part of a larger tapestry of existence. Moments of despair despite her resilience and growing skills, Ada faced moments of despair that tested her limits. There were days when the weight of isolation felt unbearable, and the struggle for survival seemed insurmountable. One particularly harsh winter, when food sources dwindled and the cold crept into her bones, Ada found herself spiraling into a dark place. The relentless winds howled around her shelter, mirroring the turmoil within. It was during this time that she grappled with her sense of purpose, questioning whether she would ever escape the confines of the island. One cold morning, after a sleepless night spent shivering in her makeshift bed, Ada ventured out in search of food. The barren landscape was a stark reminder of her isolation, and as she trudged through the snow, despair threatened to consume her. With each step, she felt the heaviness in her heart grow. It was in this moment of vulnerability that she stumbled upon a patch of frozen berries, their vibrant colors contrasting sharply with the dullness of winter. The discovery was a small gift, a reminder that even in the depths of despair, there were still moments of beauty and hope. However, the battle with despair was not easily won. There were nights when the silence of the island felt deafening, and the shadows of her thoughts loomed large. Memories of her past life would flood her mind, and she would find herself longing for companionship, for laughter, for the simple joys of human connection. In those darkest hours, Ada would often sit by the fire, staring into the flickering flames, wondering if she would ever see another soul again. The loneliness was a palpable weight, and she had to remind herself that she was not truly alone. The island was her companion, even if it was a silent one. As Ada Blackjack settled into her daily routine on that deserted Arctic island. Every sunrise brought a new challenge. Picture this: the biting cold wind whipping across the barren landscape, her breath visible in the frosty air. Days turned into weeks, and weeks into months. She relied on her resourcefulness, crafting makeshift tools from scraps and foraging for what little food she could find. Imagine the silence, broken only by the crunch of ice beneath her feet and the haunting calls of distant seals. During those long, endless days, Ada battled not just the elements, but her own fears. Isolation can play tricks on the mind. Did she ever doubt her survival? Did she think of home, of warmth, and the laughter of loved ones? Every moment was a test of will, a fight against despair. Yet, through it all, she discovered a resilience she never knew she had. Now, let's think about this. What would you do in Ada's shoes? How would you cope with the solitude and the harsh conditions? Imagine the strength it took to survive day in and day out. As we reflect on her extraordinary journey, consider this. What lessons can we learn from Ada Blackjack about survival, courage, and the power of the human spirit?